Hey everybody, it's Mason Choate from HawgBeat.com. The clip you're about to watch is from our weekly podcast, The HawgBeat Hour, that comes out on Fridays on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. It also streams live on ESPN Arkansas at 7 o'clock on Thursday nights. For more content from HawgBeat, go to HawgBeat.com and get all the content you want on Arkansas athletics.
You're listening to the HawgBeat Hour with Andrew Hutchinson, Alex Trader, and Mason Choate on ESPN Arkansas and HitThatLine.com. Now, here's your host, Mason Choate.
All right, we're back here on the HawgBeat Hour, last segment of the episode. This was going to be a little fun. We don't usually do a whole lot of this, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to pose a question or a statement. I think most of them are statements, and then I'm going to ask Andrew Hutchinson and Alex Trader, is this an overreaction or is it not an overreaction? And this just has to do with the Arkansas basketball team moving forward this season, kind of some of the trends that are going on, some of the things that are being said. So we're going to get started here. I'm going to let Andrew Hutchinson go first. So Jalen Williams is a legit SEC big. Overreaction or not?
I don't think so. I mean, he's not your traditional guy that you would expect as like a superstar guy because he's not going to go out and score 20 points. But I think he's starting to become more assertive on the offensive end, and he's been a dominant rebounder. I mean, he's had 10-plus rebounds the last 3 games, and these are against, pretty solid, like physical-type teams. Like A&M's a very physical team. Missouri's physical. Rebounds aren't necessarily easy to come by. So for him to be doing that and having back-to-back double-doubles, showing that he can also score. He also just a really smart player. He seemed to kind of clean up the turnover issue that he had against Texas A&M. He cleaned it up against Missouri. Again, is that sustainable? I'm not sure, but I think he's a legit SEC big. Don't know if he's necessarily all SEC level, but I think he's a legit SEC big.
Alex Trader.
Yeah, I think, he goes out, and this isn't a team that's necessarily run through the bigs. You need to have solid guard play. You need to have some solid play from your forwards. Jalen Williams going down and getting those rebounds and being able to compete on defense and pose that threat on the offensive side, but not necessarily go out and, like Hutch said, score 20 points a night. It's important to this team, and I think it fits into the role that he needs to be in. And for all intents and purposes of that, I do think he's a legit SEC big. Like you mentioned, he's not going to go out there and be Shaq, but if you can go out and take care of your business and do your part, then I think that's more than enough, and that's what this team needs. So, yes, I think in this scheme, he's certainly an SEC big.
All right. Arkansas has solved its point guard problem. Andrew Hutchinson.
I think that might be a little bit of an overreaction. I'm going to need more than a 1-game sample size before I make that declaration. JD Notae, Devo Davis, and even Chris Likes, they played better for sure on Wednesday night. But again, I feel like I've said this over and over again, and it sounds like a broken record, but that was against Missouri. If they can go out there and show that they can take care of the ball and be really good distributors against LSU, then I'm going to start buying it. But right now, I'm just not quite ready to make that jump.
Yeah, I think, we saw a much better turnover ratio last night, and there were some pretty bad turnovers in there, but you do need to see the more than the 1-game sample size. You need to see it against, we mentioned it, Missouri isn't necessarily legitimate top level competition, and you're going to have to play that in the SEC. There's some really solid teams in this conference this season, and I think if you can see it against some of those teams, then you might have to start reconsidering and saying, okay, well, I think we've got our point guard issue solved as a team. But right now, I don't think we're quite there yet with what we're seeing from Arkansas.
All right, here's something that I've gotten into with a couple people recently. Overreaction or not, JD Notae is doing too much on offense. Andrew Hutchinson.
I think that's an overreaction because I think JD Notae is probably your best offensive weapon. I mean, holy cow, the guy can score. Yes, he is a high-volume shooter. I did the math last night. He is currently on pace. If we just play a 32-game season, on pace to take the second most shots in a single season in school history. The only guy who took more is a guy named Todd Day. You may have heard of him. So I think that it's going to be, one of those things where there's games where it seems like he's doing too much, but he also can, he does sometimes do a little bit much, but he also is a guy that can fill it up. He's a guy that can get to the basket, get layups, and if he gets hot, he can also make 3-pointers. So I don't think he's doing too much. I think he's doing exactly what he's being asked to do. And if he ever gets too crazy, then Eric Musselman can always put him on the bench and kind of get him, keep him in check a little bit.
Listen, JD is a great scorer. He can score from every level, like you mentioned. Can drive, gets those tough finishes, able to get the mid ranges, hit the deep threes, hit normal threes too, but really loves taking those deep threes. I think he is your best option on offense, and I think we've seen that over the course of this season so far. But there are just some of those shots where it's like, what are you doing? Even last night, he kind of just threw one up, and Muss looked at him. He was like, "What was that?" You don't necessarily want to always see that. And I think there were a couple times last night where I'm just sitting there going, well, that probably wasn't the right shot. Well, you just say heat check to yourself, because he'll go on a streak and he'll make shot after shot after shot. And then just boom, he pulls up from the half court line. It's really big Steph Curry guy. You can see just from how he kind of shoots those deep threes.
So to be clear, Alex, you are saying it's not an overreaction.
I think Hutch is right. He's probably the best offensive option. I think at times he can be doing too much. So we'll go fluid with that situation.
Okay. Eric Musselman did say after the Missouri game that they had a few possessions where they just went out there and they didn't really pass the ball and they just threw up a shot. And he did mention Steph Curry and Trae Young as two guys that can do that. But he said that they don't have anybody on the roster right now that can do that, and that includes JD Notae. But I personally, I have to say this. I don't think that it's an overreaction. I do think it's an overreaction. Sorry, that JD Notae is doing too much on offense. I think that he is your best scorer. And no, there is not any player in college basketball, and definitely not any player on this roster can go out and score 18 points and shoot as many shots as JD Notae does. That is just completely false. JD Notae is a talented scorer. Anyways, overreaction or not, Trey Wade has asserted himself as a significant contributor in this lineup. Andrew Hutchinson.
Yes, I think that is, well, I guess it's not an overreaction because he looked really, really good this past game. I like what I've seen from him kind of in short stints as far as like bringing energy, bringing defense. Is he going to be a guy that gives you what he gave you against Missouri every night? 17 points. He had like 3 steals, couple of block shots. I don't necessarily think that, but I do think that he's going to be a contributor and a guy that if he doesn't stay in the starting lineup, he's going to be one of the first few guys off the bench and a guy they lean on. So I don't think that's an overreaction at all, that he is going to be a significant contributor to the rest of SEC play.
Yeah, he has that hustle factor. He goes out and you see he's always going for that putback dunk off the missed shots on the offensive side, and that's just a hustle play. You don't always see those guys going up. I think he even went up from one last night, and he saw it wasn't there, so he went down with it and kind of reset. But he gets those offensive boards. He's able to go out, play hard on defense. I think giving that effort earns you minutes. And when you're also going and able to score and able to make a real impact on the defensive side of the ball, then it's going to make it tough to not have you be a solid contributor on the court for a team, especially like Mason said earlier. We're seeing a cut rotation a little bit with the team. We're not seeing as many guys rotated in and out. And if you're finding your niche, then you're gonna definitely get some of those some more of those minutes than you were seeing earlier on in the year.
Yeah, and I think another thing that makes him so valuable is his ability to score. I mean, he was 7 for 10 from the field against Missouri. And this is, I mean, you want the guy with the unlimited motor, but you also want a guy who can score the ball, especially with this team. All right, last one. This is the big one that everybody wants to hear. Arkansas will make the NCAA tournament. Andrew Hutchinson, is that an overreaction or not?
Yes, that is an overreaction for sure. I mean, they did start 0-3 in SEC play. You mentioned how Arkansas moved up 15 spots in the net rankings to number 83. That means they were at number 98 before last night. That's nowhere near the bubble. They're going to have to win some more games. They're going to have to beat some teams they're not expected to beat because they've lost some games that they were expected to win, like Vanderbilt. So I think that that's an overreaction at this point. That's subject to change if they go to Baton Rouge and come away with a win, or are very competitive and they end up winning some other games. But as of right now, I think that's an overreaction. I just think this team has dug too big of a hole for itself. But again, I wouldn't be totally surprised if they make a run like they had the last couple of years and get right back into the bubble picture.
Yeah, if this isn't the question everyone's looking for, then I don't know what is. After last season, you come into this year and the expectations are just so high, and we really haven't seen this team live up to them. They don't necessarily have a super impressive win on the resume as is right now. And like you mentioned, it can change. We can always come back and we can be on here. We can be saying, "Oh my God, Arkansas just beat Kentucky. This team's going to make a run in the tournament." But right now, we just beyond Missouri, we really haven't seen that against any real level of competition. And I think we're going to need to see some repeated examples of good things from this team to be able to confidently say that they're going to make the tournament. So right now, I think that probably is an overreaction based on last night.
Well, this was fun, guys. Arkansas will have a chance at getting a quality win, a quad one win against LSU this Saturday at 1:00. It'll be on ESPN2. But I just want to let everybody know, if Arkansas does lose that game, let's look forward. They then play 2 straight home games against South Carolina, Texas A&M, and then they go and play at Ole Miss. So yes, you're playing against a really tough LSU team that's going to be really hard to beat. I don't think they'll win that game. But moving forward after that, then you still have some of those teams, part of that easy part of the schedule, that you can look forward to. And so Arkansas still has a chance to make that run like they have the past 2 years, kind of like Hutch said. But it's not going to be as easy because you don't have the playmakers like you had. You don't have an Isaiah Joe, a Mason Jones, a Justin Smith, a Moses Moody. So that's going to wrap it up for us here on the HawgBeat Hour. Thank you, Alex Trader and Andrew Hutchinson, for joining me. Thank you, everybody, for listening. And we will talk to you next week here on the HawgBeat Hour.